So those are essentially the three themes that I'm going to be coming back to over and over again as we go forward. If I have a basic philosophy of my own work when I'm doing my work at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, I would say that it's my job to observe the World Wide Web and the internet and try to determine what are the strategies, the behaviors, the projects that use the characteristics of the web, its ability for very easy replication, its ability to connect people in real time from different locations, limitless copying. What are the, and that kind of liquid character to media that I was describing. And to me, I don't know if any project describes those properties better as a success than Wikipedia. And just to give you some text, for those of you who can't read that text at the bottom, this is a representation of the English language text of Wikipedia, just in English, not in any of the other languages that Wikipedia represents. It doesn't include any of the images, any of the graphs. It doesn't include any of the discussions that are happening behind the articles. And those of you who have worked with Wikipedia know that behind Wikipedia, the discussion is often more active than what you actually see in the article. That is just a textual representation just of the English language text alone. And this is from August of 2007. So my guess is that representation is probably over here by now in terms of what that is. Now, let's just stop a moment. I mean, it's very easy to be pessimistic about humankind and our inability to let go of our greed and our selfishness and the ability to come together collectively and build something bigger than ourselves when we ourselves are not being individually rewarded. I know this is just one example, but what an example. These people were not paid, and I'm an educator, so I'm used to the idea of writing and not getting paid. But they didn't get a credit either. They didn't get a grade. They didn't get tenure review. They didn't get a promotion. Many of these people did their contributions anonymously. So obviously, if you formulate the notions right, people can come together on the web, use the affordances of the web, and build something not only beautiful, which I think it is, but very useful as well. So, and of course, this is I have a graph here of traffic from 2004. So 5 years ago, when Wikipedia essentially destroyed Britannica. I imagine that those graph points are not even on the same screen anymore. I wish there was a more up-to-date version of that image. If anyone has one, please send it to me. And of course, Wikipedia would never even have existed if Britannica had not made the decision early in the decade to close access to its basic content to anyone who wasn't a paid subscriber. That's how Wikipedia got its energy and its inertia. So, there's open versus closed, round one. We'll see how the judges call it. So I'm going to show a little bit of my work and the work of some of my friends at the University of British Columbia, and I'm going to start with the project that I am most proud to be associated with. If this, what I'm about to show you, does not impress you, you can leave comfortably and know that I will not be showing you anything better. I'm going to lead with my best. I'm not going to waste your time. Well, I'll waste your time later. But right now, I'm not going to waste your time. This is a project by a professor at the University of British Columbia. He's a teacher of Latin American studies. So he teaches students who, both in English and in Spanish, literature of Latin America. And this particular course was on the novels of the dictatorship in Latin America. So he used to be a professor, and he and I used to argue over beers because he used to tell his students, never look at Wikipedia, and if you cite Wikipedia, I'll fail you. And he quite reasonably argued that the materials in his domain on Wikipedia were terrible. Most of the books he studied didn't even have entries, and the ones that did have entries were terrible quality. And generally speaking, they did not use scholarly sources. They used things like Time magazine as their reference materials and things like that. So I used to goad him on a little bit, and my only contribution actually was some trash talking over beers, which I excel at. It's a shame you couldn't just bring me here to talk trash over beers, because that would be worth your time. But he eventually took my dare. He became much more sophisticated at Wikipedia than I will ever be. And he set his students with the task, instead of writing term papers in groups of 4, they had to either create a Wikipedia entry for the books they were studying that did not have an entry, or they could take an existing entry of some of the more popular authors like Gabriel Garcia Marquez. When you hear my pronunciation of that, you understand why I'm not speaking Spanish to you. And set them off. Now, how many people here have looked at Wikipedia in the last week? Most of you. Okay, I know it's probably a little different in the Spanish speaking world. How many of you have ever edited Wikipedia? A few of you. Have any of you started an article? Okay. How many of you never put your hands up when the person in front asks you to do it? It's a smart room. It's a smart room. Okay. Something you might be surprised to learn is though Wikipedia allows you to go into Wikipedia and edit and author without even creating a username or a password, it is technologically virtually anarchistic. But in terms of its structure and its epistemology, it's actually quite conservative. Those of you who've edited Wikipedia have probably had the experience of you even trying to make a good edit and having it reverted instantly, even though you made an edit in good faith because it did not meet some set of rules that you didn't quite understand. That's part of the learning curve of Wikipedia. So he gave them the task. There's actually this very advanced peer review system. I could go into more detail, but I don't want to take too much time, where the students were going to go for the notion of featured article status, of which there were less than 2,000 on Wikipedia at the time. Out of all those articles on Wikipedia, only 2,000 had reached featured article status and been put on the homepage of Wikipedia. So he told the students if they could get featured article status, they got an A plus. If they got a good article status, which is the one below it, they got an A minus. If they got below that, he'd think about it. So I'm just going to cut to the chase and show you one of these articles. The answer is 3 of the groups got featured article status. Now, just to give you a sense of what's involved with this kind of work. So this is for a book called El Señor Presidente. It did not have an entry when they started this class. So this is an English language resource. So this is it here. Here's the text. That's so there's the background, plot summary, quite in depth, the epilogue, descriptions of all the major characters, background on the genres that it belongs to. This is the part I really like. I'm just going to skip down to it. Check out those citations. So this essentially represents the entirety of scholarly published work in English and a fair bit of the scholarly published work in Spanish. It was completely absent from the internet. They essentially, many of the students said this was the first time they had physically gone into the library at my university, which says something about my university that I'd rather not dwell on. It is Vancouver. And look at those references.